As you join us today, we encourage you to reflect on the land that you're on and its history. We're located on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Haudenosaunee.
The territory is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon, One Pen Belt Covenant and is home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We are grateful to work on this land.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us virtually for the Violet press conference at the Toronto International Film Festival. I'm Mariska Fernandez, and it's my pleasure to moderate this panel to talk about Violet. So Violet follows a 32-year-old film executive who's living the kind of life where she makes decisions based on the voice in her head. It's not the voice that tells you, you can do it, go for it. It's the voice that tears you down. And she has been avoiding these worst-case scenarios her whole life until she realizes that that voice might be lying to her. It's my pleasure to introduce today's panel members. First up, we have writer and director Justine Bateman.
Hi.
Hi, Justine. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next up, we have the incredible cast, Zachary Gordon.
Hey.
Hi, Zach.
How you doing?
Laura San Giacomo. Hi, Laura.
Mute. Hi.
Erica Ash. Todd Stashwick.
Good morning.
Awesome. And unfortunately, Dennis couldn't be with us here today, but welcome everyone and congratulations on the film and having your premiere at Tiff. How's everyone feeling?
Good. Great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Justine, your short film, 5 Minutes, also premiered at TIFF in 2017. So how does it feel to be back at TIFF with your first feature as writer-director?
It's great. I mean, here doing the short and doing all the things that come with that, and then looking at the feature directors doing their things at TIFF. And I was like, someday. There it is.
That's awesome. So I watched Violet a week ago and I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to relax and unwind with this film. But gosh, I was wrong. It's such an experience watching this film. Her anxiety is palpable, and I've never been more aware of that critical voice in my head. It's beautifully done, Justine. And you have this very unique storytelling style where you have this critical voice by the very terrifying Justin Theroux and the writing on screen as well to show how she really feels. I love that juxtaposition. So let's start with the genesis of the story, Justine, and this unique concept and how it came about.
Sure. Years ago, I made a lot of fear-based decisions, and I just felt off track. I didn't feel like myself. And so after I worked through that, I wanted to pass on the ways in which I did work through that through this film. And then that's what I did. And all the characters that are played by, the actors that we have here and other actors in the film are representative of different types of people in our lives. So it's all representative and metaphorical, and, it's designed to be an immersive experience for the audience. So they can go in and experience it themselves and say, oh, I've got that person in my life, or I've got that person in my life,
Absolutely. And it does feel like a very personal story, with these negative voices in your head, navigating Hollywood and the studio executive. There's a lot to unpack. So to what extent is it based on your own experience, and what aspects would you say are embellished?
Well, the reason it's set in Hollywood is I wanted to eliminate all the variables where somebody could consciously or unconsciously point to and say, oh, well, that's why she feels insecure, or that's why, she doesn't have a good job, or she lives in a town that's kind of dark and noisy. So I wanted it to be, no, she's great looking. She's got her health. She has nice friends. She has a nice job. She lives in a city that many people want or used to want to live in. I don't know. And no, it's just what's going on here. So for other people, they could say, oh, even though, or, other people could say, oh, well, things are fine in my life too, but I have this same thing, so it's okay. And that way the negative thoughts can't double down on you and say, yeah, everything's fine. What's your problem? Mm-hmm. Because, and they can see that Violet works through that, even though everything around her is fine.
Mm-hmm. You can definitely see that on screen, and it's palpable to hear her thoughts as well. This is for the cast. I'm throwing this to you guys. I want to know what was so compelling about the script or your character per se that you made you say, yes, this is what I want to do. Let's start with you, Todd.
So after reading the script, interestingly enough, I too hail from the Midwest, and then kind of came to LA to live the Hollywood dream, have that family and those old friends from the past. And there's an interesting interface there. There's an interesting dynamic because I'm very much still the guy that was from there. And I'm very much the guy that's been now living here for over 20 years and has had a chance to, as Justine was saying, kind of live out amazing things and things that I've aspired to do, but still with that wrestle with your past and that wrestle with reconciling those two people that you are inside of yourself. So on a very personal level, I related to Violet, and then also with the issues of self-doubt and with the issues of negative thinking and having to overcome them. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really compelling about it is like being a man. I still saw my life through her eyes as well. It's very relatable, I think, on across many levels.
Mm-hmm. I believe Justine said that as well, that it's not necessarily male or female, that anyone can relate to this.
Human condition.
Human condition.
Exactly. Yeah. What about you, Laura?
Well, I have to say, if you don't have a negative voice in your head monitoring what you do, you are a supremely blessed person.
or a sociopath.
Or you're not living in any sort of reality. You're in an altered state. So I think in that way, anyone can relate to it. We all have those, or I feel it's pretty universal. We all have those. Those shadows, and I'm not immune to that. I've had times in my life where it's impossible to make a decision because of all the intellectual aspects, all the gut and feeling aspects, and I get caught in that. I try to be calm and weed it out. And I think it's a state that everyone can relate to. I think it's probably going to send a lot of people into some contemplation or therapy.
Absolutely. What about you, Zach?
I think, well, first off, I mean, we're all here because the script was great and we believe in Justine's vision. My reasons I think what motivated me more than the script itself was Justine and I share similar backgrounds. I was a child actor, and I think in my own world, especially always trying to navigate, what are people saying about you? How do you deal with that? What are you saying about yourself based off of what other people are saying about you? Now more prevalent than ever. I think it was, and also as I'm transitioning into a different type of actor in my life. So I think that the opportunity to work with someone like Justine, who clearly gets it, not just on the level of we all have these voices, but for me personally, I think a level that, maybe not a lot of people understand. I think that view, and it just resonated with me, not just because the role was a step in a different direction for me, but also because Justine she's clearly got a gift. She knows what she's doing, and she's been doing it for a long time. So I think I'm just grateful that I had that opportunity to share that with her and be a part of the process.
Mm-hmm. Erica, what did you see in the script that made you say, for sure, I want to do this?
I thought it was very uniquely written, but I was personally drawn because I think it's important to explore the dynamic of the people that you have to deal with outside of the voices of your head as well. You know, we get so consumed with the things that are happening internally, we forget about the outer referral. And a lot of the things that are affecting the voice inside of our heads are the ways that people will view us outside, our relationships with the people outside. And so with the Lila character, she's a friend who has a completely different experience, but it doesn't make her any less of a friend. And I'm one of those people that I'm always evaluating my friendship circles. Like, you know, is this symbiotic? Do I need to get rid of someone? Is that, you know, are they really my friend kind of thing? And I think that it was really important to show, and even for me, it was a great lesson to show that just because your friend doesn't necessarily understand or have the same experience doesn't mean that they care for you any less or any less your friend, you know. And I think that even in the short scenes between Olivia and I, we were able to really explore that and tackle that, and I just wanted to be a part of it.
I was actually telling Justine the other day that your character is she has a strong sense of self, and I was this character kind of surprised me because she goes, "Oh, my parents told me I'm great," and everything. I was like, I'm more like Violet, and I'm thinking, does that really exist? Is she for
right? Yeah, Erica, when I saw it, I really wanted to be you or have you as my friend. Right. So that I could run everything by you, so that you could tell me that what it's like to be a person who just believed, had that influence in her life and believed it. Yeah. So lovely. And that really came through very clearly. Good. I'm so glad. I'm really glad. I thought that was a really great juxtaposition to Olivia's character, to have a friend like that, you know, someone who looks like they have it together and does, with someone who looks like they have it together and just simply does not, and just all the turmoil that you have to deal with listening to that voice in your head and being able to bounce that off the wall of someone who is solid, you know.
Justine, do you have like these characters in your life, or is it something aspirational that you'd like to hope or to incorporate into the story?
Wait, Laura, what were you saying? I'll answer that. Say, what were you saying?
I wanted to just expound on something Zach said. I couldn't count how many times, I was only there for 2 days, but I couldn't count how many times people said anything for Justine. All the crew members, the cast. And so it really was so much, not just your script and not just how much it touched people, but just you. Everyone wanted to show up for you. And that's a real big deal.
I love it. Yeah, I can't wait to just get the whole group together again, do another one.
Since you did bring up Justine, I have this question that I've often heard from actors when working with a director who's also an actor. It comes with a unique set of advantages, I would say. So I do want to hear from you, Flora, in terms of in what ways was Justine's approach to directing helpful to you?
I'll say former actor, though, if you don't mind. I haven't done it in like 10 years, so it's not my thing anymore.
Was that to me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just the way that Justine looks and breaks down a scene and how she can communicate that to an actor, I thought was really succinct. And I observed that on the set as well as experienced it. It's just, she is breaking down the script and is able to communicate it in a really specific way that makes a lot of sense.
What about you guys, Todd, Zach?
What I actually loved is that, you know, the more you act, the more you kind of put together a little bag of tricks, and Justine just takes it away from you. She's like, nope. She just keeps kind of pushing you and driving you into new places. And she keeps
in the garage, Todd.
Oh my God.
I was like, no, come on.
No, mean it. Yeah. So she locked me in a garage and has me screaming profanities at the top of my lungs at the camera, which was my last day of shooting, which was good because I didn't have a voice for a week after that. But and even in the funeral scene, like she just would come in and be like, no, I see what you're doing. and it, it's good for some people, but let's take your tricks away and let's dig deeper. Let's get to the heart. Like, it was beautiful, and always love being challenged and always love learning new things about the craft, and someone who's been in the craft, being able to see both sides of the camera and then be able to kind of call you out when you might be faking it, even when you don't know if you're faking it, because you've been doing it so long that you're like, no, this is right? No, it was great. It was great, and it was challenging, and it was fun. And I think the biggest takeaway is that Bonnie Bedelia confirmed that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
So
was that a debate on set?
Not a debate, just a quiet conversation between one nerd and Bonnie Bedelia. Yeah. But in all seriousness, that was my biggest takeaway, is that she pushed to get, and not in a bad way, in a very gentle way, not in a bullying way, in a wonderful way, but she expected the best from you because she was giving you her best. It was great.
Mm-hmm. What about you? The same question for you, Zach.
Not to steal from Todd or Laura, but I really think two of those points are so beautifully put. One is she demanded the most from you, but was so specific. And sometimes it drives you crazy to the point where, how can I not only please the director, but make everyone happy on set and make this feel good for myself? I remember a specific moment, and I know you remember this, Justine, where, I had gotten the role, we're on set, and for whatever reason, something didn't click. Not that the work wasn't there, but I'd probably mirror it to what Todd was saying is, we've all been doing this for a certain amount of time, and we know what feels right. And at one moment, Justine just was saying a bunch of different sentences to me about Bradley, who's the role I play in the film. So a few things, like I was talking about being manipulative and like trying to get under her skin. And then she just said, "I'm the boss." And I was like, "I'm the boss. I'm the boss. I'm not the boss, but I am the boss. I think I'm the boss." And for whatever reason, everything changed. It wasn't the role that I had initially introduced to Justine, and it felt right. And it was exactly what Justine had written, but it had to click for me, and only she was able to explain that, or at least convey it properly to me. But thank you also for giving me the room to play. So I think that's just as important. And I think that's something, I don't want to say only certain directors can do, but she was an actor's director. So I think finding the way for it to click made all the difference. It made it more fun, which is what it was about, really,
And you, Erica?
There are two kinds of directors. There's an actor's director, there's a director's director. With a director's director, they need certain shots. They need the scene. Yeah. Sure, the acting is great. It's like having dinner with that guy that you really like, and he's just not listening to you. And you're like, "God, you're hot. We can never go out again." Then you've got the actor's director, who is like, whether or not they agree with your take on it. And that was a takeaway that I got as well. It was like, "Okay, we can do it again. Are you going to give me something different?" Or if you're going to just give me the same thing, we need to move on. This is what I want. This is what
I'm doing 7 pages a day. That's all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But I love that. I loved that I felt heard. And the difference when you feel heard. You understand that, okay, I'm bringing something to the table. They can see it. It may not be the right thing, but they're paying attention to it. It's not about setting up the shot and we need a wide here and we need a low shot. It's that too, but you also definitely feel like your performance matters and it's not being taken for granted. So I enjoyed the opportunity to experience that.
And I'll say that all of these actors like hit the tone of their characters like perfectly. I never get tired of watching the performances from these actors. They just hit it perfectly. It's great. It's great.
It's so great to hear all these great things about Justine, and I'm very curious, Justine, with this being your first feature directorial debut, is there anyone particularly you were looking at from the industry in order to draw from your experiences as a director?
I don't think so. I mean, I learned early on, like, be careful who you're hiring. Be mindful of who you're hiring, in particular department heads, because if you hire someone who has a particular work ethic and a particular style and all this, everyone they hire under them will be similar to them. So if you're picking people that have work ethics and style, and they're the right sensibility, they have the right sensibility for this particular project, then everyone they hire underneath, it's like this pyramid scheme of a good set, right? So that's definitely, I noticed, back when I was acting. But yeah, I don't know. And then just having been able to see the work of all these fantastic directors over the years, mainly the European directors of the 60s and 70s, like Antonioni and Godard. And that's, I'm really grateful to have seen all of that, because that's pretty foundational for me.
Mm-hmm. I've never seen Olivia as well in a role like this before. Fantastic performance. How did you know you could draw this material out from her?
Oh, well, I mean, there's so much people can do when they're given a chance to, you don't know who can fly when they jump off the building, But as a director, like, I can look at people's, maybe it's from having been an actor for so many years, I don't know, maybe it's just being observant of people, but I can look at video of, their work, their social media video, their interviews they've done, and I can see little characteristics that are either obvious or subtle, that are similar to what I need in the character. So I know if they're subtle, I can tease them out. If they're already, baked in and obvious, then we'll just do that. But yeah, it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty easy for me to see whether or not someone will be right for the part. It's kind of starting there. And then, and then you talk with them and see if you want to work with them too.
We do have a question here from Music Movies Thoughts. This film is described as highly personal but profoundly relatable. How much of Justine do we see in Violet?
Well, I mean, as a director, I mean, you're seeing a ton of my music taste, my visual taste, my style, and then plot-wise, like, I mean, let's just say I did a lot of research for this part. I mean, I've lived a life that has crossed that chasm between someone whose life is is made of fear-based decisions, and then become somebody whose life is mainly instinct-based decisions. But I will concede this, the story, the hang gliding story at the party, that's me. I was the girl that came off the hang glider and went, that was great. And everybody like, Jesus, you almost died. I'm like, really? I've never been hang gliding before. I didn't know that it wasn't supposed to go like that.
Wow. Did you guys know that it was a true story? Wow, that is amazing. We do have another question from CB24 for Justine. You speak with real passion about overcoming fear-based decision-making. Can you talk a little bit more about the times in your own life when that has been important or life-changing?
I tell you, the biggest, it sound odd, but the biggest, one of the most important kind of moments have been the smaller ones, where you take the risk, like she does at the tire store. You take a risk to see, is this true? Is this going to happen? If I pull this curtain back, will there be this monster there? And then you pull it back and there's just a brick wall. It's because to get that, to have empirical knowledge of that, to experience that, it's different than somebody telling you, there's nothing back there, it's fine, it's just a brick wall. But to actually experience it, to be willing to see that it's a monster, and then for it to be a brick wall, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, what else isn't true? So for me, it's been the smaller moments.
Mm-hmm. I definitely say that after watching this movie, I'm more critically aware of the little critical voice in my head, or is it my instinct? I'm trying to figure that out. So as actors, have you guys been reflecting on this theme? Have you been more aware? And how would you say have you been more noticeably aware of all these voices, and have you changed in any way? We'll start with you, Laura.
Let's see. I think that what Justine talks about in starting with the little things, if I start to feel like I'm stuck, I just try to make very clear little decisions like she's talking about, because then it builds. And the more confidence that I have in following my instincts in smaller ways helps me when I get to a big decision. I know right away because I've already exercised that muscle. It's like a muscle of instinct, of your instinct. And so when I get a little frantic, I start with the little things all day long, and a couple of days of that, and I can make a big decision pretty quickly.
What about you, Todd? Todd is laughing, so I'm like, yes.
No, I don't disagree. I think one of the things that I found really wonderful about the film is that the expression of the handwriting was also at times a contradictory and questioning voice within itself, but not a false one. And so the distinction between the Justin's voice and then the honest questioning of something, of looking at a crossroads of a decision and going, I don't have the answer just now, but I'm growing to a place where I know that this constant negative voice isn't right, but I have these other choices that are appearing in the margins, and I'm going to take a sec. I'm going to breathe for a sec, and listen to, and then the beauty of that handwriting sort of said, this is your true voice, and your true voice doesn't always have the answers, and your true voice may contradict itself, but it isn't out to get you. In fact, it's out to protect you in a good way. It's out to help you realize yourself. And so in that same way, I have in my 50 blah blah years, I've gotten to the place where I can tell the difference between the one that is a fear-based voice and the one that is like, no, I genuinely don't have the answer here, but I'm going to breathe my way through it. And so, yeah. And I thought that was a beautiful expression of all of those, the committee, as they said, because the committee isn't just his voice. It is all of them. And I thought that was, and so I thought this is a profound way of expressing that conversation that we have with ourselves. And I think I too have that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that you did bring up that the committee is all these voices. I think I kept thinking the negative voice, the committee, but no, you're actually totally right that the writing as well and from internally. What about you, Erica? How have you reflected on the themes of this movie?
I won't say that the movie brought awareness of the voice to me, because I had awareness of the committee that's in my own head, but I will tell you how I deal with it. Two things: often try to speak in the affirmative. So if something is weighing on me, I think, listen, I talk about what I do want, instead of, I don't like this, I don't want this to happen to me. I take that and I say, you know what I want? Here's what I want. This is what I'm going to do, blah, blah, blah. And then sometimes I have to do a complete bitch slap across the committee's face. Make a huge decision. So I take, 10 paces back and I do a running leap over the committee and do a big decision. And then it was like, all right, committee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have to force myself to literally physically overcome the committee by making the exact decision that the committee starts to try to talk to me about and say that I can't do. I'll just jump right in and say, I'm doing it, and then I'll figure it out later. Yeah.
Way to go. That is an awesome way of looking at it, for sure. What about you, Zach? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Mute.
There we go.
There
How
it is.
about now? Oh, great. Okay, cool. Erica, I just wanted to point out that I love all of your analogies. The committee and the date. They're great. They're great. It's a really fun personality. I don't know if that's personally a part of you, but it obviously is. It's just great. It's refreshing. So I think I have two approaches, like when it comes to personal and actor life. Personal, I tend to take the more stoic approach. I see what my brain is telling me or my thoughts are telling me, and then I go, well, even if this were true, I can't predict that it's going to happen or not. So whether I'm right about what I want or whether I'm wrong about what I want, I'm going to be wrong either way. So I try to not give that attention. Granted, when it comes to my acting world, that can be tricky, because if you want to trigger an emotion and you want something to happen in the scene, or maybe you hope that it happens, you know, you can't always plan for it. I think sometimes that's where those thoughts of doubt come in. I'm sure we all deal with them where, oh, the big scene's coming up where I don't need to cry, but I know I probably should, or this is a really funny moment, but I've heard it so many times. How do I make it stay organic? And I think that's where I'm trying to have that, again, you know, not to tout stoicism or anything. It just helps me remove the emotions out of the equation, ironically, even though that's my profession. But the fact is, looking at what have I done before a million times, whether it's a scene, a conversation, whether it's listening to someone or something that I haven't done, but I know I'm capable of doing, that, you know, we've all been through that a million times. And, you know, again, piggybacking on what everyone said and what Erica was just saying too, is you just have to, well, it's going to be over anyway in a couple of minutes or a day or a week. And that doesn't even matter, because how I think it's going to end isn't going to be the way it's going to end, positive or negative. So let's just jump into it. All right, committee? And they're like, yeah. So, you know, yeah.
No, that is an awesome way for sure. Erica?
Sorry, I just have one more thing to add to this. I also think I have this philosophy, speaking of how I think that I always see life as though you're writing a book, because I'm one of those people that believes whether you have kids or not, nobody's coming to visit you in the old folks' home, right? So like at the end of your life, all you're going to have are the stories that you create. So do you want to be like the chick at the wheelchair or the guy at the wheelchair sitting by the window thinking about your life and have like nothing? Or do you want to have this amazing, fantastic story that will literally keep your mind occupied for like years? So whenever I come to a decision, I don't think about the committee. I think about what story I want to read when I'm old,
That's right.
home by myself with no kids visiting me. Like,
That's right.
did
You
she
just
go
did it
through
again,
the door
by the
that
way.
she knew the outcome of,
Mhm.
or did she go down the path that was like, we'll see what happens? And I mean, you know, I've had some great outcomes from that and some bad outcomes from that, but they're never not interesting.
Mm.
You know, there was something that I wanted to highlight about the film, is that it emphasizes empathy, because we are seeing the world through Violet's eyes, and there are moments where she treats people shitty. And so there are moments where other people are treating her shitty, but you know that those people are having the same committee conversations in their head and making wrong choices. And like Zach's character, where you go, this is a man based on insecurity. Like, he is doing all of these things. And so you can empathize kind of with everybody, even though they're having these bad moments and saying things that they probably will regret in the quiet moment when they get home. Even the boss, even like everybody that mistreats her, and she mistreats other people, but they're all wrestling with their own insecurities. They're all fighting their own demons in their head. And so it allows you to, I think, kind of treat other people better as a whole, because you just don't know anybody's story. You don't know what conversation they just got off the phone and found out that they have an ailing parent, and then they walk into the room and they mistreat you because of where they're at emotionally, or whatever their circumstances. And I thought that was pretty profound, because it just gave you a window into one person, but you can apply that to everybody that she interacts with.
Wow, that's very interesting. And actually, I never thought about it like that. But now that you bring it up, I do want to throw this question to Justine: is there any other character whose inner demons interested you, that you thought that, oh, this would be a very interesting point of view from that person? I'm actually thinking about everyone's different scenarios.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, I'd love to do a whole film about Tom Gaines. Like, he's somebody who needs to attach himself to whatever other people value, because he doesn't feel valued. So he looks at what other people value and attaches himself to that. People value Violet, he attached himself to that. People value architecture, so he makes sure his office is in an architecturally significant building. And also for oh God, Todd, your character name?
Rick.
Rick. Rick, too, is fascinating to me. He has stayed home. He's dealt with the parents. He's dealt with all the responsibilities. And yeah, to him, it's like he didn't get to leave. He didn't get to leave and pursue his dreams, what he wanted to do. So there's a lot of that inside of him. You know, he's like hurt.
Yeah, from his point of view, he's not wrong.
No, he's not. And neither is Tom. Like Tom's really hurt too, that he wants to come up with some ideas. He doesn't want to just be the guy who's paying the bills in this office. You know, he wants, I mean, I could go on and on. I feel empathy and sympathy, and I understand every single one of the characters, and Helen too. I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, you know, Todd really put it well with the, you know, if you understand Violet, you understand all of those other characters.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone we'd be surprised by with their inner voice? I'm actually curious even about Red. Is he always the
Lila?
Everything's great in my life?
Lila's inner voice. It's just like spa music. I don't know.
I know, spa music, right? Does this guy really exist? The kind of guy like Red, he's just so optimistic and yeah, it was very interesting.
You know what though? I don't think that she does not have something, right? Because like you know, Marilyn Manson had really great square parents. Right. It's just, I feel like there's no matter what your background is that you come from, there's a something. I don't think it's as strong, or maybe not in the way that Olivia feels it, but she's got her things too. You know, I think she's better equipped with the tools to be able to overcome it. That's all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well put.
I do want to talk about the stylistic choices, Justine. It's very unique from all the films I've seen. I've never seen something like that before, where the screen starts turning red and you know that anticipation, there's that anxiety and you're feeling it too. I thought I was going to relax and I'm watching it and I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Especially when she's in the car and she's going and I'm like, he's going to get hit by a car or something's going to happen when he's in the car ahead. It's like you feel this tension, and at the same time with the writing, I want to know about this stylistic choice. Was this always part of the plan? Was this always something you had in mind from the get-go when you wrote it in 2011?
Yeah, a lot of the elements, not the handwriting that came within the edit, but yeah, everything else. And it's, you know, I've like my initial and natural creative state, you know, when I was very young was collage making. So that's how I see filmmaking as a director, is like collage making. And I have all these different tools. And, you know, the next film I do, I may not use any of the tools I used in Violet, because it won't help this new thesis statement. You know, these tools helped this thesis statement to drive this home. Yeah, it's just basically that.
I do have a question here, drawing on that in the same breath. Question from Will Wong. Can you describe the choice of visuals for the film's poster and how you selected an aesthetic that reflects Violet's active mind?
Yeah, this is an artist named Archan Nair, who I've collected and bookmarked different graphic artists' sites from way back when I first was on Tumblr in like 2007. So he was one of them. And when I was thinking about what I'd want for the poster, I went back and I was like, oh, this guy's work for sure. And anyway, that's how that came about. He's really talented. And I see that there's a question about the
thought process,
male voice for. Yes. I just want to address that because I know that some people have asked that. You know, when I was going through, you know, getting from fear-based decision life to an instinct-based decision life, one of the first things that helped tremendously was thinking about these negative thoughts in an objective way. Like the example I use is, you know, don't wear that shirt to the party or no one will talk to you. And within myself, I give it validity. It's my own thought. I adhere to its accuracy blindly, right? But if I think like, oh no, what if Erica said that to me instead? And then I would go, well, what do you mean? Is there a dress code? Do you know these people? I would ask questions. I wouldn't immediately take it in as a fact. And so I wanted to give, and that made a big difference for me. Then I could look at it objectively and I could see that these things were lies. And so I wanted to give that to the audience by making the voice as different as possible from Olivia. change the gender, change the tone, change where it's coming in on the speakers in the theater, to help people to think of their own negative thoughts. Just pretend they're separate from themselves so they can look at them, analyze them, and not just take them in as fact, because they're all lies.
The voice is pretty terrifying when you think of it that way, that it's also, how did you come about to decide on Justin as the male torment voice in her head?
Decide on him. I mean, I'm just like, he's like a dream actor to work with. He's a fantastic writer and an actor. And I was thrilled. It's kind of, I felt it was almost not right to not have him on camera, because he's such a good actor. But he's a tremendous voice actor too. So, which is not easy. You have to, any adjustment you make has to be only in your voice. As an actor on camera, you can change your posture, the speed with which you turn your head to somebody, your clothing, everything. But in voice, any adjustment has to be only in the voice, and that's it.
We do have another question from CB24. The film obviously focused on Olivia's character, Violet, very intensely. Was it a challenge to work in a film that followed one character so closely? And what was it like working with Olivia?
This is for the actors, yeah? Or for me?
I believe it was for you, Justine. So was it a challenge just to follow one character so closely?
No. Let me think of a more intelligent or more, let me expand on that. Well, I mean, really I've been saying like the most important character in the film is the viewer. It was really designed to be an immersive experience. And that's why there's so many audio and visual elements to it. So it's almost like the character, it's almost just like a car we've designed or a coat to put on or something for the viewer to just go through it themselves. And then, and then all the other characters are, what you see and interact with as you're going through this ride, this film.
And I think the second part of the question is, what was it like working with Olivia? I'll start with you, Justine, and then move through the cast.
Sure. It was great. She really gave herself to the role, and it worked out terrific, obviously. So for me as a director, yeah.
What about you, Zach? There are some pretty intense, interesting scenes when she's you're trying to, I guess, in the same office space, trying to talk to her, and she's like, no. Can you talk about that?
Completely the opposite of what it appears to be on film. I mean, she's just so down to earth. It's ridiculous. I mean, felt like we had been friends for a really long time, and she's very open, honest, authentically herself, and very intelligent. I think a lot of people don't give. I mean, when you watch someone on screen and you have no idea what their personality is like, I was surprised at how knowledgeable she was, not just about finances, about choosing film roles specifically. It was refreshing, inspiring, and I really admire her for it. And she was a blast to work with. So nothing but good things.
What about you, Laura?
Yeah, she was really sweet and really open and very personable and available to chat, and you just hang out and be really friendly to work on these scenes together.
I'll move over to Erica.
Interestingly enough, I found her to be very serious, but not in a bad way. Definitely friendly and definitely open and talkative. But maybe art was imitating life with our relationship, because I found us downloading a lot, and I thought, are we talking about the things that are happening in your head right now, or are we like talking about like to see what's happening right now? You know what I mean? And we would kind of laugh about that a little bit, but yeah, I found her processing a lot. So maybe it was just because I think with our scenes, she was having to process the thoughts in her head in the scene. And so sometimes that kind of carries out after cut happens, So that was our relationship, was like just a lot of just download time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Todd, I don't remember. I can't believe. Do you have a scene with her? I think it was all.
I have 2 scenes with her, but not with her.
Exactly.
I've actually known her for a very long time, and so it was a reunion in the makeup trailer. But with the way that the film was shot, I worked with her playback because of just how phone conversations operate in film construction. You often are not there on the set at the same time, and so I was actually fortunate to have had her record her half of the conversations prior to me having to do the scene, so I was able to hear and listen to what I was acting off of, especially in the funeral scene. So yeah, I have no on-set experiences with her to share with you, other than lovely reunion conversations when she was, as we were passing like ships. Yeah.
I do want to go back to Zach, because I have to say it was so fun to see you play this young, overconfident guy, a far cry from the wimpy kid that you've been trying to shed over the last years. So what was your audition like? I'm curious for Justine, for her to see that side of you, because we haven't had that. It seems like you had a lot of fun playing that character. Oh,
Yeah, I think, well, the first audition was what usually happens is, you send in an audition tape, which now seems normal, but then as an actor, you always crave that personal connection in the room. But I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to meet with her and work with her again. I think there were, Justine, what was it? Like I read for like part of the director too, or something happened where.
Oh yeah, there was that too. Yeah, the Kirk Paulson part. Yeah.
But anyway, it just felt like I was being challenged. It was a great time from the universe because, first off, as you were, touching on what you had said, in a lot of ways, it's not that I'm so much shedding, my past opportunities I'm grateful for, wimpy kid and all that, but I'm not that person anymore. Like I got some muscle, I have facial hair, and I'm getting older. So it's like, okay, well, this is all I've known, and I've worked on different things along the way. But this, again, it just made sense. It was an opportunity to go, okay, well, what have people not seen me as? What do I want to play? More importantly, who do I want to work with? And who actually wants to see me succeed? And it was that rare occurrence where Justine totally understood where I was coming from, really found a great way to communicate what her thought process was to me, which sometimes can be misconstrued. And sometimes you leave those rooms like, dang, I don't know if it was that or maybe it was that. And that's the worst feeling. So I think the best part of it all was just getting the opportunity to work with her, but also more importantly, getting to work with someone that didn't settle for anything but what they thought that I was capable of. And that was really refreshing and great. So
I want to say about this too. There's no actor needs to shed anything. They, like that, as Zach just said, you're a completely different person. In fact, when Zach auditioned, look, I have kids, right? So I had seen the films he had done as a kid, but I didn't even put it together. I didn't put together the name or all I was seeing was this guy named Zach who's auditioning for me. And he was like, he was really it. He was really like what I needed for Bradley. And then afterwards, I was looking up your credits, Zach, and I was like, oh, isn't that interesting? It just, and still today, like, I don't even make the connection. It's like, there was one actor that did those films when, years ago, and this is a completely different actor right now who's doing completely different films. So that's just how it goes. He's brand new. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Me.
I definitely want to ask you as well about Tom Gaines for the character of Tom Gaines. He exerts his power. He's humiliating. He's a bully, but Dennis plays it so well. He does it so well, especially in that scene when he's boiling with jealousy and something's about to happen. It's one of my favorite scenes as well. So can you talk a bit about filming the scene, especially since you said that you find that character very interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, Dennis did a spectacular job. And yeah, the thing that I, would speak to him about is like, is this backstory for Tom and why Tom does this? What's going on for Tom? Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes too. And I always knew that's exactly how I wanted to shoot it. I just wanted to be on him for the entire scene. And man, he really delivered. I mean, you can see the his whole life. He really lives in that scene. You can see in his face and his small gestures and stuff what's going on inside. Yeah, he was terrific.
And I think we have one last question, which is, after this unprecedented year, do you think the message of this film hits differently? What would you like viewers to take away from it?
I mean, I think, it's about the human condition, like we were saying. And I hope this film, and I hope all the films I do, survive the era in which they're made, that it's going to be as relevant in 10 years as it is right now. But considering that many people have been sort of outside of their routine, away from work, away from the friends they usually see, away from the social events they usually go to, and have maybe had more time to, more free time than they usually have, which can, open the floodgates of thought. Yeah, maybe it will be true that there'll be more people who are like, oh my God, I've realized now that I got a lot under the rug and I need to clean that out. And that, and that watching Violet will help. Sure.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a very beautiful piece of art, and I think everyone should watch it, along with your unique storytelling style and this fantastic cast, as well as Olivia. And at a time like this, when fear is consuming so many of us, I think we just got to be aware of more of our instincts and the voices in our head. And that's what I liked about this film. It's just that it's not just in Hollywood, or she's a successful executive with a glamorous life. It's not just about that. It's her experiences with a boss like that, with coworkers like that. It's just, and grappling with self-doubt. I think it's very universal, very relatable. And I think that's what's going to get people to watch this film and think about it. And anyone who watches it is going to be more aware of that negative voice in their head. And unless you're more like Lila or Red, in which case, good for you. I'd like to be more like that, and I hope to with this film. So congratulations, Justine, and the rest of the cast. I think everyone should watch this. And thank you so much for joining me today. It was lovely talking to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to everyone watching
Thank
at
you.
home, thank you, and happy Tiff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.